Hello. We're streaming, I think. Are we streaming? Are we streaming? Yes, no, maybe. Cloop, cloop, cloop. No webcam due to, I don't know. I don't look great today, so. Yeah. I need to get an actual dedicated webcam so that I don't have to position my laptop to play. And I can just have it pointing at me from some direction. Hello. I like our little objects piling up at the back. After this, I could do some Mirror's Edge, maybe. I need to do more Mirror's Edge. It's just a Mirror's Edge, it's a 2-hour time commitment. And I have to be okay with... Like, it's not the first hour that's the problem, it's usually the last half hour. Okay. Is anyone in the chat? No, nobody's in the chat. If anybody's watching, give me a cat to play. I have Nippy, Lynn, Will, Mitten, Nero, Zor, Wednesday, Kratos, Miku, Rufus, Chaos, Magoo, Griswold, Senior Missy, Obi, and Catzilla. My microphone should be coming through clear, by the way. Yeah, my mic audio is coming through the Yeti speakers. Yep, it is good. Okay. Okay, nobody's watching. That's wonderful. Zor? Oh. It might go. Okay, let's do Zor. Where's Zor? Zor! Zor is a yellow cat. I like how Zor is yellow, but in the picture he's more orange. So for people who are new, you kill the little scratching posts and whatnot to get upgrades. I don't think any of these cats have special abilities. Like, they all kind of start at the same base and you can just upgrade their abilities. Like right now my jump is kind of crappy. If you knock over paintings and stuff, like you get new cats, or you get photos of cats. Disco. Businessman Bullet Hell. God's Tower. Oh, that's the creator of this game, so he might actually have made a game called God's Tower. I was watching their Divergent because someone told me to borrow it, so I watched Divergent, and like it's like Hunger Games meets the Vampire the Masquerade clans. I actually I don't know if the movie's a proper representation of the book, but I felt like it was a cynical attempt to capitalize on a bunch of YA stuff that was in. Like, Dauntless feels a lot like werewolves with the, they run around, the whole introduction to them where they're kind of jumping all over the place and like hooting and hollering like they're wolves was really weird. The whole like clan sorting hat thing, the whole like using kids as soldiers or fighting each other. Also, the lesson doesn't appear to be that people shouldn't be sorted, more like divergents are just special. And like I totally get why it appeals to kids, and I know that like it's the whole everyone else is sheeple, you're an individual thing that boy heroes get too, so it's like, but I don't like it then either. And oh no, I'm running out of time. Oh no, I don't think I have enough time to do this. No, I'm gonna lose right off the bat. That's very unfortunate. Yeah, I've lost. Oh no. Alright, let's do this again. We'll use Zor again. Some levels I feel like they give you way too much time, and some levels I feel like they don't give you enough time. They try to scale it to the number of objects you have to do, but like I don't think it scales on the ratio that they're doing it for. Like if they give you 8.5 minutes, you get it done with so much time left. When they give you like a little over 3 minutes, I usually am really pressed for time. And it's a lot of it is that like the levels where you have to knock over fewer objects seem to have like much fewer objects to knock over, where I'm often like, how am I supposed to get enough of these? Like after the really tropey beginning, like there are these clans and they're all sorted by things they're good at or whatever, and it's weird because it also feels like it's not the type of case that you would expect. Like there's Dauntless, which is the soldier warrior one. There's Erudite, which is like their intelligent thinker class, and they're of course the villains because they think they should be in charge, and the social worker class is in charge. And then there's the other two, which are Honesty and Peacefulness, which like the honesty, peacefulness, and kindness, all three clans kind of feel the same, and I don't really know what distinguishes them. And they don't even talk about like the truthfulness and peacefulness clans. Like I almost felt like they didn't exist. It was because the really only distinct ones, and the conflict is between their intelligent. I love the super SWAT. Look, I'm like I'm on catnip. It's like Erudite, which is like the super smart, or which is their smart one, the smart people who think they should be in charge, and they wear suits and everything. And then Abnegation, which is like the social worker class, which she comes from. So they're the good people, and they're the ones who were in charge, even though they seem to live very humbly. I have no idea how they're in charge. It just seems like they're in charge just so they can be overthrown. And then Dauntless, which is the soldier class. And that's basically it in terms of the conflict in the movie. I have no idea if the book is like this, but... And like the lesson of the movie is so fucked up. It's like the lesson is like Dauntless is good. Like it's good to be trained as a soldier, and you should be trained as a soldier, because like at the end you need to pick up a gun and just kill people. And it's like all those abnegation people who are like, you shouldn't shoot people and you shouldn't be violent, and then they have to learn to pick up a gun and shoot people. And that's the thing, because it's like when it comes down to it, you gotta pick up a gun. And it's like her mom is a, like kind of Deus Ex Machina saves her, because it's like her mom wasn't really in the narrative up until she showed up at the, like up until she was supposed to be executed, and then all of a sudden everyone at the trying to execute her gets shot, and then her mom shows up, and then her mom knows how to use a gun, and then she's like, you were Dauntless, which is weird because I thought you couldn't switch castes, and then like, so it means like if you're Dauntless, then you're awesome and you can use a gun and it's great. And like, so all of the people who like do anything are people who pick up guns at the end. And she and her boyfriend just like murder everybody. And then she uses mind control and torture to get her way at the end and save the day, because these are good things. It's okay to use them if the villains are using them worse. And like, despite the whole she's divergent and therefore she should have multiple ways to solve problems, mostly all she does at the end is just kill people. And then they set up this thing with her brother who's like, I thought he was gonna be evil, and maybe later on he becomes evil. But like, even if the books are meant to be part of a series, your movie should be a whole movie. And instead it's just like, he doesn't like he joins Erudite, and then he's like, you know, Erudite is the future, abnegation, maybe Erudite should be in charge. And then like she talks with him later, and then he seems to have completely drunk the Kool-Aid. And then I thought he was going to be the villain, but then it turns out And then he's just there when Abnegation is being genocided. He's just with the survivors, and he's like, "Oh, you were right. I left as soon as I found out." And I'm like, "Is he a double agent? Is he like Evo?" But he doesn't do anything for the rest of the movie. I'm just trying to see if there are any secrets, because sometimes there's like stuff you have to unlock. Okay, never mind. Let's get in. Get into the box. Good timing. I just finished Hyper Light Drifter for the night. The only thing that can stop a bad child soldier with a gun is a good set. That's the lesson. It's so fucked up. The only thing that can stop a bad child soldier with a gun is a good child soldier with a gun. That is the lesson. And also that it's like, it's not that people shouldn't be sorted into clans. It's that like people should be sorted into clans. It's just that Divergents are special. And because the like, it feels like the case system wasn't even thought out very well, because you don't have your like your thinker, your thinker, your strategist, your like, you would expect this to be sort of like the Vampire the Masquerade thing, where it's like you've got your political clan, you've got your warrior caste, you've got your worker class. Like, I'm not even sure who makes all of their clothes and their computers. But no, you don't. You have like, you've got the soldiers in Dauntless, you've got the social workers in Abnegation, you've got the thinkers in Erudite, and then you've got the other two, Amity and whatever, who are honesty and peacefulness. And it's like, isn't that also just the social worker group? Like are the kindness people not honest and peaceful? Because they certainly seem fairly honest and peaceful. And it just felt like it wasn't really thought out. It was just, we just wanted to divide them into classes. And it's like, if she is Divergent and she belongs in all of the clans, which was hilarious when at the beginning, where it's like, what did I test? And it's like, you tested for all of them. I'm like, of course she did. So the purple boxes give you super power-ups for a short period of time. So that's why I'm like in the cat speed zone. But it's like, if she has all of their powers, then shouldn't she also be very truthful and peaceful as well? But instead, it's just like, as far as I could tell, her main abilities is that she's clever and smart like a YA heroine, and she's violent. Like, she's got Dauntless, like, mostly, if she's got superpowers, she just, like, mostly spams Dauntless and Erudite, because almost the entire movie is about her coming up either with somewhat clever way. She stops being clever at the end. Like, the most clever thing she does at the end, which was, like, so... like, because she, like, throws a knife and stabs the hand of like the evil woman, the evil Erudite woman who's mind controlling all their child soldiers, and then wow, I'm a strong cat. Did you see that? So like the evil Erudite woman is mind controlling all the child soldiers, and then so she threatens, like, you know, turn it off or I'll kill you, and she's like, I'm willing to die for my cause, but you won't kill me. And then so she doesn't kill her, and it's like, and you thought you'd be Dauntless, and then you thought you could make it as Dauntless, and then she's like, you're right, I'm Divergent, which I actually said before she even said that, because I knew that was just the line that was coming. And then she says, I know, I'm Divergent, and then like the creative thing she does is use the mind control on the woman instead to make her do what she wants, which is like, it's okay to mind control other people if they're mind controlling people first. And then I think they kill the woman at the end. When she snaps out the mind control, is horrified by what she does, I think they kill her. But so it's like, at the end, she doesn't really do anything clever. Ooh, I love Moon Gravity. Moon Gravity is great. So she doesn't do anything really clever. She just mostly murders people at the end, and like both her parents die. And like Divergents can't be mind controlled until they can. Like they can't mind control the Divergents for some reason. Like they get injected and she's just immune to it, and like all the Divergents are immune to it. And but then they take her boyfriend away, and then the next time she sees him, he's mind controlled, and they don't explain how they figured out how to mind control her boyfriend in the like 1 hour they were separated. So that's really bizarre. There were a bunch of things in that movie I didn't understand at all and felt like they were hanging plot threads. Like at the beginning, she keeps getting beaten up in the arena fights, and and her love interest is like, you can't, you're too weak, like you don't have muscle, so you've got to learn to use your speed. And it's like, you need to go on the offensive right off the bat. You should just go for their throat. And then later on, when she has to fight in the arena again against the guy who played Mr. Fantastic in the new Trank movie, he's like, remember I told you, go for the throat, and then she doesn't the whole time, and then she just gets beaten up, and then it never comes up again. I kept expecting in some fight that she'd go for the throat, but she doesn't do it. Like when she was about to be executed, I'm like, oh, is she gonna go for the throat? But she doesn't. And then when she's fighting her boyfriend at the end, it's like, oh, she gonna do that thing he told her? It's like, no, she doesn't. So it's like, what was that in there for if she wasn't going to do it? Unless I missed it at some point and it was like really subtle. I didn't expect anything in this movie to be subtle though. But yeah, like the beginning was really bad because it was just like, oh, it's so obvious. But then the movie actually started to pick up. Once she joined Dauntless, I kind of liked it. It was kind of a sports movie. And I liked the relationship between her and her boyfriend, sort of, almost. Like I didn't like the whole, like, oh, of course he's like the stoic jerk, and like the second he didn't answer the question of what he got on his test, on his sorting hat test, I was like, oh, he's probably Divergent too. And then but like at one point he's like, you know, if I really wanted to hurt you, I can. And I'm like, is it like in for love interest to say this to girls now? Because they did the same thing in Twilight. And I know Twilight is not a healthy relationship, but like this one isn't, I guess. Like, is it in for girl love interests to start off by saying, you know, I'm way stronger than you, and if I really wanted to hurt you, I could. So screwed up. But anyway, so the middle of the movie I got into quite a lot, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool, if a bit screwed up. Like I did like the idea that it's like she joined the soldier case because she admired them so much and wanted to get away from her boring social worker life. But then like I liked when it was like, oh, she had to learn how to be, like she used her cleverness to make up for the fact that she's not a soldier. But then like at the end she just becomes a soldier, so it's like they did break her and turn her into a soldier after all. And also the Divergent, like because they didn't split it to be like if the different castes were like the hardworking caste and the smart caste and the wise caste, like, you know, these people have, you know, these people are straightforward and the soldier class, and these people are the smart class, and these people are the creative class, and these people are the knowledgeable class, or whatever, you know, like some sort of distinction like that where she has all their powers and therefore uses all of these things to solve problems that would make some sort of sense. But instead, when she passes all of her fear VR tests really fast. Like it's like, oh, no one's ever passed them this fast. The reason isn't because she has all of their powers, but the reason is just that she's like Neo from the Matrix, where it's like she's trapped in a, like one of the things is she's trapped in a glass enclosure and water is filling up, and then she breaks the glass just by touching it. And then the guy is like, how did you break the glass? And she's like, I don't know, I just did. And it's like, and so all of the things, like when her boyfriend was like, I need to teach you how to pass, like pass as in like they're passing, like so that you can pass as a Dauntless. Like Dauntless wouldn't solve their problems this way. So like when they went to the VR, and then it's like fear of heights, and then she's like, we could just jump off. Like because they were on a, like they're on a super high wire over the buildings, but he's like, and then so she's like, we could just jump off because she's Neo from the Matrix and she can do anything she wants in the VR world. And then he's like, no, Divergent would jump, you know, Dauntless would go across. And so it's like, so she doesn't, like, it's not that she's like got all these different abilities, it's just that she's magic. That's what being Divergent means, she's just magic. Which is why I felt like it's like they came up with a concept, like whoever wrote it came up with a concept that they weren't really committed to and hadn't thought of. It was just, well, this is just what kids like, right? What appeals to kids, like not being put into cliques, not being put into boxes. Everyone else is a sheep, but not you. Like there are the goths and the punks and the popular kids. There's like the preppies and they're and the jocks, but there's you and you're special, you don't belong in any group. But then they don't really think about it any more than that. But yeah, the middle of the movie was kind of cool, and then it became like, oh, actually they're mind controlling this child army, and now it's a totally different movie and you've got to just kill everyone. And like she has to kill her friends too. Her friends were being mind controlled, and she and her mom were just killing everyone until she saw like her friend, and she's like, no, it's me, snap out of it. And then she's forced to kill him, and then she's like, oh my god, I killed him. But then the point is that she should kill everyone. I love this. And then her boyfriend is like her boyfriend shows his tattoos, and his tattoos like at the when he takes off his shirt, because you can see he has tattoos from his shoulders and stuff, but when he takes off his shirt you see all 5 mana symbols. Like they look like mana symbols to me, but they're all 5 like class symbols at the back of him. And she's like, why do you have all 5 symbols? And he's like, because I don't want to be bound by just one. And I'm like, if you like, I thought if he's not Divergent, then it kind of makes sense where it's like he is Dauntless but he likes Divergence because, well, I guess that makes him a chaser, but that he likes Divergence because he doesn't want to be bound by just his case. But it turns out he is Divergent, and therefore if you are Divergent and it's so important for you to hide it because the society will kill you if they find out, why would you get all 5 symbols on your back? It's not like he never takes off his shirt. Also everyone knew she passed her test super fast. And then like the whole point was that Divergents in the past have been caught because they passed their test super fast, and then that got the interest of the people in charge, and then they watch the final test, and if they see that you like did magical things, then they capture you and kill you. But if no one except Divergents can beat their tests in like 2 seconds, because they were like, you know, you passed it like 10 times faster than anybody. And I'm like, if you pass it that quickly, wouldn't that just be a clue that she's a Divergent, even if you don't see, even if in the final test when you look at her, she does it the proper way? Because the first 2 tests, she just passed it immediately. And then the guy's like, oh no, you're gonna give yourself away after she's passed it the proper way. But right off the bat, because all the other students were like, it's not even a secret. Like if only the guy knew, then that would be something. But all the other students were like, you passed your test 10 times faster than anybody else. What's your secret? And then she just says, I don't have a secret. What are you talking about? But so everyone knows that like that should just give it away. If no way but Divergence has ever done this, then they should just like kill her. No, glowing nuts. Anyways, I borrowed the other 2 movies, and I guess I'm gonna watch them. I'm sort of like, apparently there's no ending because the 3rd movie flopped. Get the laser pointer. Where is it? What? Oh, there. It's up here. Where is it? Force field. Oh, the force field is good. Because you can just knock everything over by just bumping into it. I'm missing a room. There's always, like, these houses are arranged so weirdly. There's always a room I'm missing. Am I not missing one? I feel like I am missing one. I don't think I can reach up there, can I? Nope. Is anybody in the chat or what? It says video output low. That's not good. Am I missing a room? Normally I don't have this much of a problem knocking over everything. Oh wait, what's this? I also borrowed Ip Man free, so that's gonna be kind of fun. And yeah, I'm curious what's going to, like, I'm sort of curious about the other books in the series, because I kind of don't know what's coming next, because they also did that science fiction trope where it's like, oh, they're in the future walled off city where it's like you can't go beyond this fence because the rest of the world is a nuclear apocalypse and ours is the only civilization left. I'm like, which means there's probably a thriving civilization out there, because, or at least everything is not a nuclear wasteland, because that's every science fiction dystopia with that sort of plot where they tell you can't go beyond the walls because there's nothing out there. Am I missing a room or not? I mean, as you can see, I have way too much time. Oh, I am missing a room. I knew that I was missing a room. Just make sure I'm not missing anything here. I did like in general, I thought she was okay. Like her character was not terrible. I mean, there was a lot of very generic things about her character, but and her love interest wasn't terrible. I believed him, and I thought in general their relationship was okay, outside of some of the creepy stuff. And she has like one of her VR fear things is that he's gonna try to rape her, which was really messed up. Like I get why it's there, because her, like one of her male friends had been mind controlled and tried to hurt her, and so they had leave, like stop touching me sort of moment, but it's still kind of screwed up. But yeah, there were a bunch of stuff, like it was watchable for most of it. After the beginning, which was really awkward, it was watchable, and then it stopped being watchable at the end, which was like the dialogue, and then it's just horribly contrived. And I'm finished. Is anybody around that wants me to play more, or should I do something else? Ow. Okay, let's do another one. No one ever chooses Mitten because Mitten is like a drawing and not a picture. Which is a little weird. So let's do Mitten. You always start off in this room. You can unlock stuff, but I haven't figured out if you can normally unlock stuff. Like if you knock over some special items, then you unlock special rooms. But I don't know what are special items and what are not. Like I don't know if that trophy is a special item. Wow, my jump is really nerfed. I don't know if all the cats start off with the same abilities. I feel like this cat has especially poor jumping, but that might just be because I'm starting over. Yes, catnip. I guess that just boosts everything about me. Oh, I think that unlocks the museum. This little dinosaur statue. Yep. That unlocks the museum. So if you find like little special things like the little dinosaur statue, you can unlock special levels. But I don't know if they're in every level or not, or if they just randomly appear, because some playthroughs I never unlock anything and I don't know if I'm just missing it. And some playthroughs, like last time I unlocked like 3 things. I want to get to the grocery store again, because the grocery store is a level I've never beaten, because you have to get certain items and I like a certain amount of certain items, and I can never do it. Yeah, this cat definitely feels like she has lower jumping than other cats. What's this? Is that jump? Maybe I just haven't picked up any jump upgrades. I'm not playing near death until Trisha's around. Hold on, I need to pause for a second. I've learned to pick up all the power-ups. Uh-oh. I'm not gonna get the event power-up. I don't think anyways. But upgrades are good. I don't think there's anything else. Like, I'm trying to read a couple books. There's like a YA book about gangs or something. It's like a girl and it's like her brother's in a gang and there's this guy that she used to date, except that she blames him for getting her brother in a gang, but this guy claims to have reformed, and I guess like it has, can she rekindle her love for him or not trust him again or something like that, and save her brother. To the museum. And then there's a Timothy Zahn book where it's like he's writing the usual super trained hurt girl that he does with Mara Jade and Shada, except that he doesn't have the Lucasfilm limitations on him. Yeah, this cat's jumping really feels nerfed. Like, even with only a few jump upgrades, I should jump higher than this. But yeah, without the Lucasfilm thing, it's it feels like it's just worse, because like right off the bat, the first line in the book is somebody slapping her and saying, "Wake up, bitch." And I was like, oh, we're off to a good start. And then her fear that her, I don't know, the person she's staying with, her pimp, I don't know her relationship with this person yet, but it's like she was so afraid that he had sold her or given her to someone else, and I was like, what? And it's really fucked up. It's like Mara Jade and Shada, except even worse. And so right now I'm a little skeptical of it, but we'll see if it gets better. I'm also reading a bunch of sports books. I'm reading The Arm by Jeff Passan about pitching and arm injuries. It's interesting, like, yeah, I should be able to definitely reach those tables. Look at how big these rings are, even for a cat. Like, it's not like a cat's arm should be smaller than our finger. So every cat does have sort of base abilities, I just don't know what they are. Like, this cat's jumping is terrible. And it's interesting because, you know, like everyone, you know, you always read these articles about like, did humanity become dominant because of our bigger brains or because of our ability to process this type of food or this, that, and other thing? And Jeff Passan's book has another anthropologist who's like, the reason humanity became dominant is because we're able to throw objects. Like, if our arms were designed at a certain other angle, like certain chimpanzees or apes or something, which can't throw at the velocity we can throw at, then we wouldn't be able to do the same things. And it's like, because we can throw spears and whatever at that, like, we were able to become dominant. So, and it's probably a combination of all of these things, but so that was kind of interesting, assuming it's true. But also, like, how arm injuries are becoming this huge thing, and like, no one pays attention to Japanese baseball, and in Japan they throw a lot pitchers, and they throw all sorts of different kinds of pitches, and it's like people are always like, well, limiting pitchers' arms, because there's this big theory that like a lot of traditionalists are like, well, back in my day pitchers didn't break down like this, and it's like they did, it's just you never noticed it. Like through sort of selection, you'll know, like in the past, you'll notice the pitchers who could throw like who threw like constantly and never broke down, and you don't notice all the pitchers that did break down because people weren't going off for Tommy John surgery, they just disappeared and you never saw them again. And but so yeah, and then so in Japan there's a spate of arm injuries with pitchers because they throw so much. And so like the whole idea that a lot of traditionalists say that, like, you know, back in my day people threw constantly, so you shouldn't baby the pitchers. That's the problem with the arm injuries. You gotta let them throw like millions of pitches, and that's not actually true. Like the biggest problem actually is how much pitchers are throwing at a young age, because kids are just being pushed so hard, and because you have to play so many levels, and people aren't multi-sport athletes anymore, so your arm doesn't even get an off season. What's this? No. So yeah, I'm reading the only rules that has to work, which was about a bunch of sabermetricians who got to run a minor league baseball team, and using a mixture of traditional and statistical measures, like sort of to see what would happen if you ran the team totally by statistics, and what can you not do using statistics, because like running a team is different from just managing a fantasy team on paper. And so they had to learn about that, and that's really cool. And they had like an openly gay player on the team too, and how did people handle that, because it's like through the statistics they shouldn't care, like you should get just the best players, it shouldn't matter their sexuality. But then it's like, so how does the locker room handle it? And so that's kind of cool. They actually did really well, and I've always thought that an interesting experiment would be to have a manager play completely just the number. Like, I've always thought if a computer managed the baseball team, in theory, by playing the percentages over a long season, over many seasons, you should have more success than somebody who's just playing with their gut. Maybe not over the short term, because percentages need sample spaces to play out, but obviously, since people also play the game, if you ever told players that a computer is just making all the decisions for the manager, they will never buy it. So, and they would be skeptical. So it's like, if you got someone who's considered a coach, a managing genius, or like someone who's a good old boy white guy or something, and then just said this guy knows what he's doing, he's played how many years in the game, and then just had him secretly be making all the decisions, that computer just like put this person in at this point, bat this person against this person. So therefore you take away the whole people don't believe in him bias thing. Like, would a computer's decision be better? I say yes, because baseball is all about like percentages over large sample spaces, and as long as you're squeezing every bit of an edge you can over 162 games, you should be successful. There's another book that I don't have that I'm really interested in getting. I've read some of it on Google Books already. Magnus Catastrophus. That's a cool name for a cat. Where it's about playing the percentages in baseball, and like it goes even beyond their Moneyball sort of sabermetrics, where like it used to be that you should hit your fast, like the traditional idea is you should hit your speed guys at the top, and because you want speedy people to be on base for their sluggers later to drive them in, and your strongest hitter should, like your power hitter should hit fourth, your best hitter should hit third. You don't want big slow guys clogging up the bases. But then like they were ignoring on base percentage, which was the whole Moneyball thing, where moon gravity, where whereas like actually, even if you have speed people on leading off, like there's no point if they never get on base. Like how are they gonna steal? You can't steal first base. So it's like actually if you have big slow guys who walk and get on base, that's still better, because the most important thing is not to get out and to get people on base, because if you have a whole bunch of people constantly getting on base, you just keep turning over the lineup and you'll never get out. And so that kind of changed the idea, and the whole like you don't want your best hitters hitting third because you want your best hitters hitting as often as possible. So they should be hitting second. You don't want to waste them hitting first because of the idea that like, well, if they're power hitters, you don't want them hitting home runs when no one's on base. So they should hit second. And then your best hitters should hit second, third, and fourth. First, second, third, and fourth. Because you want them up as often as possible. But like their super advanced statistical analysis that balances a variety of things, like not just how often your turn in the lineup comes up, because like the advantage of batting first is the person who bats first will be up the most often in the game. The person who bats last is the least often, and therefore the idea is that you like don't waste your best hitters batting 3, 4, and 5 just because that's tradition, and put like lesser hitters in 1 and 2 just because they're fast small people. But actually like there's other factors to consider, not just how often you get up. It's also how often like you're in situations to drive in runs or in 2-out situations, like because even the best batters like only hit 300, and that means like you're not hitting 70% of the time. And even if you have a 400 on base, which is amazing, you're still getting out 60% of the time. So that means that like the odds are always that you're getting out, and therefore the odds are pretty high that like if you're batting third, you're going to be coming up with 2 outs a lot, or with 1 out, and like your chances of doing anything are limited. But at the same time, if you're too low in the batting order, then you don't come up often. So you want to balance that out. So it's actually, you should bat your best hitters 1, 2, 4. You should bat your best 3 hitters 1, 2, 4. Balancing for on base. Like if you've got someone who with high on base but low power, that's ideal for number 1. And then you want, but your 3 best hitters and on base people should be going 1, 2, 4. And then 3 and 5 are your next 2 best hitters, and then 6, 7, 8, and 9 are just your remaining hitters in order of effectiveness, because you want your worst hitters coming up as little as possible. So that's 9, and that balances a whole bunch of factors, and the percentage difference of effectiveness between different kinds of lineups are really minuscule, but you want to squeeze every small percentage out. Even if you get like a 0.5% advantage, you want it. So, but Bill James, the person who started Baseball Prospectus and who started the whole sabermetrics thing, considered the godfather of sabermetrics. Bill James actually ran a simulation to see if batting order really matters that much, and like he took one of the old Yankees teams, they're ones that one considered like one of the most traditional ones, of a high on base, speed people at the front, big batters in the middle, that sort of thing, and therefore it's something so generic, like something so perfect for the traditional batting order that there should be a difference if you ordered them in the incorrect manner. Like if you put the big fat slow guys at the top of your lineup who are clogging up the bases for your speed guys, or you put your low on base people at the top rather than your high on base people at the top. And then he ran like the season 1,000 times on the computer to see what the results would be, and it's like it was worth like a couple wins, which is actually a lot, but not as much as you would think for having the worst lineup versus the best lineup. So it's like batting order doesn't make that much of a difference, but it makes some difference. And in a season, like in a 162 game season where every win counts, and the best teams only win, like winning 90 games means you lose 72 games, and losing 70 games. Like, a 90-team win is a good team, probably wins its division, gets into the playoffs for sure now. But a 90-win team still loses 72, and a 70-win team, which is terrible, still wins. Well, still, like, a 70-win team still wins 70 games and loses 92, right? So, like, the differences between baseball team, good and bad baseball teams are so small, so you want every advantage you can get. This is why I love baseball. This is why baseball intrigues me, because it's so... It's like an RPG. A lot of it is like luck, and a lot of it is about like small statistical differences over time. It's like, imagine you played like a Final Fantasy RPG, except that rather than hitting 90% of the time, because most of the time in the Final Fantasy RPG you almost never miss, but imagine if like 70% of the time you missed. Like, a good Final Fantasy character or a good RPG character would still miss 70% of the time. And imagine how players would react. Like, you would start to kind of like, it would just feel like all your characters are missing all of the time, and sample bias would start to really creep in, where you're like, well, I really like this character. If I feel like whenever I need a hit, they give it to me, even if it's not true. And, you know, and it's interesting because I pointed out, like, in an RPG or something, if you had a weapon with a higher hit rate than another weapon, you would always use that weapon. But because players are people, and people don't like to believe that baseball, like, yes, stuff can happen in baseball. You can get injured, you can get old, you could get your confidence shot. Things can happen to you psychologically, but most of the time people are their numbers over time. And because it's played by people, people don't really want to believe that, and therefore, even if you've got like a 360 on base guy versus like a 290 on base guy, there's still like a lot of sample bias or a lot of confirmation bias, where it's like, well, this person looks lazy, I feel like they never get a hit at the right moment, this person always comes through. Hey, a dog person, you're listening to me talk about baseball. I'm so happy because you actually care about baseball. Okay, take care. Hi, Andrea. I guess it's too late now. Yeah, well, the computer wouldn't have going this day to hit a grand slam, therefore stats suck. Well, computer would still put Ryan Goins in the lineup at this point. Who else are you going to put in the lineup? It's not like a computer had any choice with the bases loaded to not bat Ryan Goins. Oh, my throat's really dry. Hold on. This game is adorable. I love it. It's wonderful. I need to do more things. I took a walk today. That was nice. Unfortunately, it's raining, and what happened? Okay, my mouse gave out for a little while. That was weird. So you can get multiple, like, items count for multiple if you can knock them off onto multiple surfaces. The RPG is a good comparison, I found, because a lot of like geeks who don't know anything about baseball understand the RPG comparison when they use it, and I think it's like, I've gotten a ton of people into baseball by talking about baseball, because I think there's a lot of geeks who like really hate sports because it was either used to bully them or like it was just always sold as a completely different thing. And it's like once you realize that baseball is more like a video game than it is like football or something, and most of the time you can't try harder in baseball. Like trying harder would just make you play worse because you cannot try to hit the ball. If people could will themselves to hit the ball, people would be hitting a lot better than 300. And most of the time you can't really do anything. Like yes, there are batting coaches, yes you gotta learn how to swing, but most of the time you just gotta do the same thing that's worked for you. And if you go for a slump, you go for a slump, and there's nothing you can do about it. Which is also why baseball players are so superstitious, because like if you played an RPG where you failed constantly, you would also be very superstitious. Oh. A Holiday Inn? I've never unlocked this before, that's awesome. Like, Jack actually talked about this in... Jack from previously recorded, when he played XCOM, like, that even though he knew that a sniper had like a really low percentage shot because she made a key shot for him at the key moment, he was like, oh, she's really awesome, she'll always come through for me, and therefore he takes low percentage shots with her because it's like she came through for me last time and you know she's gonna come through from this time, and of course she didn't and he failed. And it's like that's what happens in baseball. That's like baseball and fans and sometimes managers where they like, oh, this player has worked for me before and therefore I trust them to do it again. Even though he's batting like 230 with a 290 on base. And a lot of fans get into this where it's like they don't like Jose Bautista because he's like kind of cocky and he's Dominican, and they don't think he tries hard, or they think he's an asshole, like he's selfish. But Ryan Goins, he's this hard-working guy, even though he's like he has like a 290 on base, he'll come through. The whole selfish baseball player is another thing. Like, look, one of the only ways that you could really hurt people being selfish in baseball is if you fake an injury at the end of the season in order to preserve your batting average. Because you're hitting like 300 and you want to remain 300, so you sit out. Then that's selfish. But other than that, like, selfishness in baseball is good because it's unlike other sports. Like in other sports, if you want to score a lot of goals at the exclusion of your teammates, that could be a problem. If you want to score a lot of points in basketball and you don't pass the ball, that's a problem. Like Allen Iverson, who I love, but like he's come under an reevaluation now with their statistical historical analysis. But in baseball, if you're selfish, that's good. Like, it's good if you want to hit the ball all the time. If you want to hit a lot of home runs, that's awesome. Home runs are great. If you want a high on base percentage, you never want to get out, that's awesome. That's great. Like, personal stats are generally reflected in team stats because if you do well, like, baseball's an individual team sport in that it's every it's like an RPG. It's a turn-based RPG. Your move is independent of other people's moves, but at the same time dependent on other people's moves, because you can't drive in runs if other people aren't on base, and you can't be driven in if other people don't hit after you. So you want a whole bunch of good individual performers right next to each other. Where's my upgrade? Bloop. Amy and her fans 5 are real now. Like, I love baseball because it's something it's math. I love math, and it's statistics. I love statistics. It's like a turn-based RPG. It's sports. It's competition. Oh wow, it's Christmas. This is so cute. This game is awesome, and I always unlock things that I didn't even know existed. I've actually like unfollowed people for having terrible baseball takes because I just couldn't take how much they seem to be like. There's a lot of Jays fans, and this is not unusual for. It's not just Jays fans. Lots of other fan bases have this. I think that in Toronto, though, there's definitely like people have been tortured so much that they've gotten more towards used to hating their teams and expecting the worst and hoping, and like that way if the worst happens you can say I knew it, and if the worst doesn't happen you can be happy. You say, well, I'm glad to be proven wrong. But there's a lot of Jays fans who seem like they really want to hate the Jays. And like those people are just annoying me because they're like fact proof. It's not that they have different baseball takes than me. I don't mind that as long as you can back up what you're saying, or as long as you're willing to have the discussion, because I love baseball. Like my passion for baseball is an emotional passion. I'm not gonna get upset if we disagree about baseball. I'm gonna be upset if you don't want to discuss it. Or, well, I won't be upset, but I'm not gonna be pleased if you don't want to discuss it. How many stats doing? Ooh, I've fully upgraded my SWAT. Oh, this limited time here. I didn't know this. Okay, I better knock over all the pictures then. Let's use my super SWATs. And it's like when people argue, you know, Gibbons, everyone hates John Gibbons because he's a white guy of a southern drawl that people think doesn't seem very intelligent, and therefore there's this whole thing. It's like he doesn't know what he's doing, he always makes the wrong decisions, and a lot of the times, like sometimes I don't agree with his decisions. Sometimes he makes decisions like a lot of bunting, which is usually what people want him to do. They want him to bunt more. Active baseball, and sacrifice bunts are usually not a great idea because sacrifice bunts give up an out, and outs are precious. And the run expectancy tables actually say that like a runner on first and second with no out has much higher run expectancy than a runner in second and third with one out, despite the fact that you moved the runners up a base and you've got runners to second and third. Now, if you like a runner on third with one out, yes, there's a better chance of scoring one run, but not scoring more than that. If you're in extra innings and you had the last, and you had the bottom, you were hitting at the bottom of the inning, then fine. If you're in extra innings or in the 9th inning at home, then one run wins it or one run ties it, then fine. But otherwise, if you're early in the game, you want to score as many runs as you possibly can and get out as little as possible. But yeah, it's like there's so many Jays fans that I run into, especially since like I'm friends with Mike Wilner, and so a lot of his fans show up whenever I talk to him, or a lot of his enemies, I guess. And then I'm like, I want to have a baseball discussion, so I'm fine if we're gonna discuss this. Like, I'm fine if you want to say Gibbon should have done this and given a reason why, not simply, oh, everyone knows that this is just what you do. And I'm like, well, the statistics say that, like for example, yes, the reason you want lefty on lefty or righty on righty matchup for a pitcher is because usually left-handed hitters don't hit left-handed pitching well, and usually left-handed pitchers are better against left-handed hitters and vice versa. But usually doesn't mean always, right? Like, some people have reverse splits, and look, you don't know why they have reverse splits, they just do. So if they have reverse splits, which means that they're like a left-handed pitcher who's better against right-handed hitting, or a right-handed pitcher who's better against left-handed hitting, then you want to bring in a pitcher who's most likely to get a batter out, not just lefty just for the sake of it. It was like, it's the same thing where, like, because the Jays stopped hitting last year, everyone said the problem is that they're too right-handed because they have all these right-handed batters, even though the statistics show that actually they were hitting left and right perfectly fine. And you don't want left-handed hitters just for the sake of having them, because like the years before, like in 2014, the Jays had too many left-handed batters. I remember that because that was the year where they had like Juan Francisco, Kobe Rasmus, Adam Lind, and Munenori Kawasaki, and it's like you had 4 left-handers in a row who were your worst hitters against left-handed pitching. And like every time a left-handed pitcher was up, it was just like you had dead spots all across your lineup. So you don't want left-handed hitters just for the sake of having them. Okay, I'm gonna see if there are any more keys, because like I have to find special items to knock over and then pick up the key. I think the problem isn't that I wasn't knocking over special items, it was that I didn't notice when I did, and therefore I wasn't hunting for a key. Like, I think a shopping cart indicates their grocery store. Do I see any shopping carts? Their dinosaur indicates the museum. A special box fort indicates the box paradise. Christmas tree indicates the Holiday Inn, and I don't know if there are more because I've never seen the Holiday Inn before. A free event upgrade. Okay, so this is a new place. So I don't want to beat the level yet. But it's like, so this like, there's a bunch of people with bad baseball takes that I've unfollowed because when I try to talk to them, they just kind of yell at me, and then they insist that they're just right. And I'm like, whoa, what is that? It's a ball. Whoa. I'm like a cat, I'm chasing the ball. Is this thing just indestructible? I guess it is. But yeah, so it's like if you disagree with the decision, that's fine, let's talk about it. If you think that you disagree with where someone's batting in the lineup, let's talk about it. Don't just say cause that's what everyone knows you should do, or that's just baseball common knowledge. A lot of people don't understand that statistics tell you what happened, and and they don't tell you everything that's happened, and they don't predict what will happen. Like, the odds of flipping a coin doesn't mean it's going to land in that way, but they do give you lots of information. And so when people talk about statistics, people kind of like dismiss them as like theory, and they're not theory. Like when people say, point to the statistics of how a player performed, they're not saying that this is theoretical versus reality, which is what you saw. What they're saying is this is actually what happened, how the player performed, and your memory is flawed, which a lot of people can't accept. Oh, I'm almost maxed out. I should have maxed out. I should have paid a little more attention. I'm maxed out. Nope. Oh, you can see. Wow, look at all these upgrades I've collected. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can max myself out before leaving. Is there anything else I can pick up? No, I need my jump maxed out one more. I don't know if I have anything else to scratch here though. So I think I've done everything. Oh no, this. I haven't done this. Yes! New cat unlocked. Chase. Oh, I did it by maxing out my skills. So it is good I maxed out my skills. There's a bonus bar. Okay, take care, Trish. Trisha's leaving. I don't know if she's watching, but she's leaving for work. Have a good night at work. Done. Does anybody want me to do anything else? Another game? Okay. Oh, so that's Chase. Okay, so should I do anything else tonight? I mean, normally I don't stream on Wednesdays, so this is sort of a bonus stream anyways. Max out all skills. It's too late for me to play Mirror's Edge, I think. I could play some Sims Free. I was working on Sims Free for a bit. And I can still play Sims Free. I can play Star Wars Jedi Knight maybe. I can... Well, I don't want to play Final Fantasy Free. I don't think I have enough time to start it. We can try this NES nostalgia game and nostalgia. I'm gonna play the Blackwell games at some point. I haven't finished Blackwell Epiphany because it didn't come out back when I bought the Blackwell bundle. I can play 20XX for a little bit. That's their procedurally generated Mega Man game. I'm not very good at it. I'm too tired for Final Fantasy VIII or Lightning Returns, I think. Yeah, I think that's generally it. I can play some Portal 2 custom maps if people want me to while talking. I mean, it depends on whether you want me to talk or play. Like, I can play Mini Metro. There's some games I'm more talkative on and some games, like anything sort of like Mirror's Edge, Portal 2, Refunked, Catlateral Damage, like a first-person platformer where I don't have to think a lot and I can just kind of do, then I can talk. Something where I have to think a little more, then I'm gonna talk less. So up to people, what people want. What do people want me to do? If anyone's even around, it says one person is watching. If nobody responds, then I'm just probably gonna call it a night. Sorry. I mean, I talked a lot about baseball. Okay. Is there anything in particular you want me to see me do, Michael, before you go to bed? Like I can do Sims, like in terms of like short things that might be entertaining. If you like zombie murder, I could play Nation Red. That's a zombie murder game I used to be really good at. Ended up hurting my arm too much, and I ultimately ran into like the limits of my physicality. I can play Blade Kitten. I can play I can play 20XX. I can play Mini Metro. That's a good one. Nation Red. Ultra Street Fighter 4, which, warning, I'm not that good at. So yeah, those are sort of the short things that I could play that might be entertaining for a small period of time before people go to bed and before I leave. The only baseball you know about is the old NES baseball game. WoW. What's WoW in respond to? Go with Sims. Okay. Let's do Sims 3. Should I make a new household in Sims 3 or just play the one that I had created before? I think Beartado, Curmudgeon Lee, and Leon Fenrir had created a bunch of my characters and I was just kind of playing them, and Kim Winkin. I don't even remember what my people are doing. I think two of them are in a relationship with each other, and a bunch of other people are like burning the house down. I could make a new family if people want me. If people find character creating more fun than just house managing or building things. I don't know what people find fun about watching me play The Sims. Oh, I wait a second. I've got to start a new stream so that it doesn't mess up when it saves. So I'll be back.